Tucker Carlson criticizing you, saying that you were complicit in the war.
I don't know what Tucker Carlson is saying. Let him go get a television network and say it so that people listen.
And quickly, have you spoken to Zelensky before your bylaws?
How many people live in Iran, by the way?
I don't know the population.
At all?
No, I don't know the population.
You don't know the population of the country you seek to topple?
How many people live in Iran?
92 million.
Okay. Yeah.
How could you not know that?
I don't sit around memorizing population tables.
Well, it's kind of relevant because you're calling for the overthrow of the government.
Why is it relevant whether it's 90 million or 80 million or 100 million? Why is that relevant?
Because if you don't know anything about the country...
I didn't say I don't know anything about
Okay, what's the ethnic mix of Iran?
They are Persians and predominantly Shia. Okay,
it's not even... You don't know anything about Iran.
Oh, that's gotta hurt!
In a battle of wits between Trump, Marjorie Taylor Greene and Tucker Carlson, we all lose. And nonetheless, those of us who knew that Trump was simply selling snake oil when he branded himself as the president of peace, while simultaneously eyeing Greenland, Canada, and doing nothing to help de-escalate the war between Russia and Ukraine, despite saying he would do in 24 hours.
I had no wars. I'm the only president in 72 years. I didn't have any wars. Together very well. I look forward to that. The G7 used to be the G8. Barack Obama and a person named Trudeau didn't want to have Russia in. And I would say that was a mistake because I think you wouldn't have a war right now if you had Russia in. And you wouldn't have a war right now if Trump were president 4 years ago. But it didn't work out that way. But it used to be the G8. And now it's, I guess, what's that, 8 years ago, it switched over. They threw Russia out, which I claimed was a very big mistake, even though I wasn't in politics and I was very loud about it. It was a mistake in that you spend so much time talking about Russia and he's no longer at the table. So it makes life more complicated, but you wouldn't have had the war. Other than that, I think we're going to accomplish a lot.
His lust for war comes as no surprise to any of us who are paying attention. However, to Marjorie Taylor Greene and co., it's scathing and they're hurt. Therefore, they're turning on each other.
Matt, I see it just as you do, and you laid that out so well. That's the America First message, but it's also the truth that the American people have woken up to. We've watched for decades propaganda news. I'll call out Fox News and the New York Post. They're known to be the neocon network news. We have propaganda news on our side, just like the left does.
Oh, you don't know anything about the country. You're the one who claims they're not trying to murder Donald Trump. You're the one who can't figure out if it was a good idea to kill General Soleimani, and you said it was bad.
You don't believe they're trying to murder Trump.
Yes, I do.
Because you're not calling for military strikes against them in retaliation. And if you really believe that...
We're carrying out military strikes today.
You said Israel was.
Right, with our help. I said we. Israel is leading them, but we're supporting them.
Well, you're breaking news here because the U.S. government last night denied, the National Security Council spokesman Alex Pfeiffer denied on behalf of Trump that we were acting on Israel's behalf in any offensive capacity.
No, we're not bombing them. Israel's bombing them.
You just said we were.
Marjorie Taylor Greene sided with Tucker Carlson recently in his feud with Donald Trump over the president's stance on Iran, which has drastically changed when you look at his past comments regarding Obama.
Our president will start a war with Iran because he has absolutely no ability to negotiate. He's weak and he's ineffective.
Trump called the former Fox News host kooky and mocked his independent show.
Tucker Carlson criticizing you, saying that you were complicit in the war.
I don't know what Tucker Carlson is saying. Let him go get a television network and say it so that people listen.
And quickly, have you spoken to Zelensky before your bylaws?
Carlson has suggested Trump abandon his, quote, America First policy to support Israel against the Iranians, which has prompted multiple responses from the president. He wrote on Truth Social, quote, somebody please explain to kooky Tucker Carlson that Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. Something that has been warned about for years. Take this CNN montage of Bibi Netanyahu talking about it for decades.
The deadline for attaining this goal is getting extremely close. And Iran, by the way, is also outpacing Iraq in the development of ballistic missile systems that they hope will reach the eastern seaboard of the United States within 15 years. By next spring, at most, by next summer, at current enrichment rates, they will have finished the medium enrichment and move on to the final stage. From there, it's only a few months, possibly a few weeks, before they get enough enriched uranium for the first bomb. The foremost sponsor of global terrorism could be weeks away from having enough enriched uranium for an entire arsenal of nuclear weapons. That would place a militant Islamic terror regime weeks away from having the fissile material for an entire arsenal of nuclear bombs.
If not stopped, Iran could produce a nuclear weapon in a very short time. It could be a year. It could be within a few months, less than a year.
Now, Marjorie Taylor Greene, who has gone to bat for Donald Trump multiple times, often to her own detriment as she bends herself into a pretzel, excusing everything the president does.
There we go. There we go. And then I gotta do one more thing. I always do this. I just love this guy so much. Yeah, he is. He's fantastic. This guy right here is great. Standing up in there in the mucky swamp. Diane always has him in the mucky swamp. Yeah. But it's amazing.
She instead this time rushed to Tucker Carlson's defense, while simultaneously slamming Fox News of all places as, quote, neocon. Damn this administration for having me agree with Marjorie Taylor Greene on an issue. See this recent take on Fox News, for example, of their war hawkery.
Yeah, so where are they? They're nowhere. How about China? Nowhere. How about Russia? Nowhere. What happened to World War III? There is no World War III. They all sound like a bunch of Marxist Islamists. They don't sound like patriotic Americans. Let me be clear. This is good versus evil. You're either a patriotic American who's going to get behind the President of the United States, the Commander-in-Chief, or you're not. One other thing.
Now, of course, we'll withhold the applause for the very same woman that claimed that Ruth Bader Ginsburg had a body double, that 9/11 may have been an inside job, and that the Jews are controlling the weather.
Have you guys been following 4chan, Q, any of that stuff? Anybody? Q is a patriot. We know that.
Yeah, like the body double for Hillary Clinton. So it's interesting. Yeah. So
I do not believe that was Ruth. No, I don't think so.
There's possible satanic worship, and maybe that all these scary things that people talk about on what's considered conspiracy sites and conspiracy theories really may be true, right? We had witnessed 9/11, the terrorist attack in New York, and the plane that crashed in Pennsylvania, and the so-called plane that crashed into the Pentagon. It's odd. There's never any evidence shown for a plane in the Pentagon. But anyways, I'm not going to dive into the 9/11 conspiracy. Q is trying to tell people on these forums and 4chan, and he's trying to tell people the truth.
But what I will point out is that she is indicative of a mass movement at the moment, where we see oftentimes the most staunch Trump supporters turning on him over his hypocrisy.
You know, I'm all for the president appearing and doing enlistment ceremonies at military bases. I've been with the president at Dover to receive home our dead soldiers. And so those who have been killed in action, and to mourn their loss. But I just never liked the idea of the parade, because I grew up in the 70s and 80s, and the only parades I can remember are Soviet parades for the most part, or North Korean parades. And the parades I remember from our history were different. You know, everybody remembers that famous scene of the soldier, you know, dipping the girl and kissing the girl in New York in a ticker tape parade. But we were rejoicing the end of war, and we were rejoicing our soldiers coming home. And that absolutely ought to be commemorated and discussed every year. Memorial Day, Veterans Day. But we never glorified weapons so much. And I know he means well. I don't think he means for any of this to be depicted in another fashion, but I'm just not a big fan. And then there is the cost. I mean, we're $2 trillion in the hole, and just an additional cost like this, I'm not for it.
I do want to get to
see, she was willing to throw everything possible behind the president when he gave her an excuse to be her fully bigoted self, up until she was scolded. And infighting continues, as Tucker Carlson had on Ted Cruz recently in an interview that is painful, but a must watch.
How many people live in Iran, by the way?
I don't know the population
at all.
No, I don't know the population.
You don't know the population of the country you seek to topple?
How many people living around?
92 million.
Okay. Yeah.
How could you not know that?
I don't sit around memorizing population tables.
Well, it's kind of relevant because you're calling for the overthrow of the government.
Why is it relevant whether it's 90 million or 80 million or 100 million? Why is that relevant?
Because if you don't know anything about the country...
I didn't say I don't know anything about
Okay, what's the ethnic mix of Iran?
They are Persians and predominantly Shia. Okay, this is cute.
It's not even... You don't know anything about Iran. So
okay, I am not the Tucker Carlson expert on Iran.
You're a senator who's calling for the overthrow of the government. You're the one who claims anything about the country.
No, you don't know anything about the country. You're the one who claims they're not trying to murder Donald Trump. You're the one who can't figure out if it was a good idea to kill General Soleimani, and you said it was bad.
You don't believe they're trying to murder Trump.
Yes, I do.
Because you're not calling for military strikes against them in retaliation. And if you really believe that...
We're carrying out military strikes today.
You said Israel was.
Right, with our help. I said we. Israel is leading them, but we're supporting them.
Well, you're breaking news here because the U.S. government last night denied, the National Security Council spokesman Alex Pfeiffer denied on behalf of Trump that we were acting on Israel's behalf in any offensive capacity.
No, we're not bombing them. Israel's bombing them.
You just said we were.
We are supporting Israel.
High stakes. You're a senator. If you're saying the United States government is at war with Iran right now, people are listening.
Okay. All of this goes to show just how bad Trump's handling of foreign and domestic policy is when he has people like this turning against him. But as I mentioned, we are all collateral, right? And so we'll withhold the applause for those who did everything possible to help get this man elected, only for him to simply be the person that they helped get elected.
The truth is more important than ever. Check out our new Truth Over Lies collection at store.MeidasTouch.com. All 100% USA union made.